Let's come back. Any points? Any points or issues or problems or as we grapple with this stuff? What's on our minds and hearts? Yes, Christy.
I just want to say, if I step out just 1 second, it's because I'm rescheduling an appointment they didn't answer, so I'll come right back in.
That's all good. Thanks a lot. No problem. Be comfortable. Be comfortable. Be comfortable. Anyone have any points they'd like to make, issues they'd like to express? Everybody, come on back. Come on back. Anything that's on our mind, ruminating on our mind as we go through this?
Nah, we're just going to let you sail through it.
Okay. Come on. I'm sailing away like the song goes. But before we get on our starship, let's take part of that.
Canticle of Mary.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a total surrender to God's will. Mm-hmm. Is that what it's all about?
Sure. And yet, it's a total surrender to God's will that's done in the style of Mediterranean female poetry. That's Mediterranean female poetry. It's probably being written by a man, Luke, because we have no tape recorder. Luke never had a tape recorder with Mary, did he? Did she actually say that? Doesn't matter. It's honest to Mary and her historical situation. The Bible's all true, and some of it actually happened.
She was probably just terrified, looking for a solution.
Yeah, looking for a solution, and perhaps has that alternate state of consciousness experience where it's okay. It's okay. Of course she would be terrified. Any Mediterranean woman pregnant early is terrifying. Absolutely. It's a horror story. Especially the Matthean version of this story. She was found to be pregnant before she lived with her husband. That's a horrific statement. We don't get that as Americans. Because we got so much 2,000 years of this beautiful Christmas devotional stuff that we read into the text. Okay, we don't imagine Mary's father and brothers either stoning her to death or less humanely, that's a humane way, or less humanely cutting her head off and getting rid of the body. That's really how it's done, usually. Because it brought the stain of shame in the house. You think about those things at Christmas time? Again, this is... No, we don't dare think that about, but it's right there in the text.
And when was Luke written?
Right. Luke is being written in the fourth wave from the original Jesus movement. After Mark and Matthew, Luke has got a copy of Mark on his table as he's reading. That's the synoptic tradition, the three Gospels. Luke never read Matthew. That's why his infancy story is so different than Matthew's. And what do we do in Christmas time and Advent? We just blur all these stories together like it's a big cake mix. And we have magi and shepherds in the same thing. No, the shepherds in Luke and magi in Matthew, and neither of these are American 21st century biographies. That might be a little much to hear in the first, but this is, the church doesn't insist that we accept these as factual biographies in every way. There are some facts.
Loaded with spiritual truth.
Right. Every one of these facts is interpreted, yes, theologically. Joe.
Yeah, if it's such a big thing for a woman to be pregnant in those days,
Even today.
and have no husband, why isn't it more talked about in the Bible?
It is all over the place.
No, it isn't. It said a couple.
Okay, all right, I get you right. So it is mentioned and it is alluded to, but it's not spelled out. And the reason why is because the Bible is high context a document that was not written for Americans. If it was written before Americans, the Bible was written for, by, and about Americans, then we're a low context society.
Americans, you can get away with it. Over there, you can't get.
No, Joe. Now we're talking about different things. We're talking apples and oranges suddenly. I'm talking about the fact that American culture is low context, which has been explained as a society that produces a literature where every detail that's necessary, all the information that's necessary is given. High context societies like the Middle East, China, Japan, and others don't feel it's necessary to spell out in detail all the information. The authors expect their audience to get it. It's understood. It's high context culture and producing a high context literature. The Bible and books like Matthew are high context documents. And so they don't feel the need. The audience has the mind, the cultural furniture in their mind to supply the necessary auxiliary background information and allow the author to manipulate that furniture to get the message across. When a low context culture reads high context literature, so like when Americans read the Bible, misunderstanding and distortion of the text necessarily result. Yes, Mary?
You did show us examples of low context literature today when you were explaining. Because they were written to explain exactly what women should be doing. And that was
Bible Live is low context. All these slides are low context, even when they use the Bible's high context, right? Because I have to explain it.
Right, but those things that were written by the contemporaries, so in other words, the Bible is a high context literature, but there were low context literature written which draw information.
Not really. No.
Like the example
They explain things, but the examples that I'm giving you, that I'm explaining these texts, are low context. The texts themselves are high context. If they give an explanatory comment, it might be meant humorously or insultingly, but it's not meant in order to explain, i.e. being low context. A joke is only funny when you get the joke. If you have to explain the joke, it's no longer funny. Jokes and cartoons, like political cartoons, are examples of high context literature in our society. But there's nothing like the Bible. Every page of the Bible is filled with allusions to things that you have to be part of that culture to kind of get. Thank God for the social sciences. Thank God for cultural anthropology. Okay, let's move on.